call from Joe Galante about a new artist, right?
Yep.
And that artist, of course, was Carrie Underwood. And that began a relationship that has become historical here in Nashville.
And hysterical.
And historical and hysterical. And I want you to just tell us that story about how that unfolded and how you met Carrie and went out to Kansas City with, Joe and Renee to meet her. And
So I'll try to make it reasonably quick, but
Yeah.
I'd made a lot of records for Joe, some good, some not so good. And when they were not so good, he would be sure to let me know. But I love Joe. He was another mentor for me. He taught me a whole lot about the business of making music and the business of selling music. And a lot of people don't know that Joe always had developed a good ear for songs. He never called himself a song guy, but he had it. Yeah. And he expressed it in a different way than Tim Dubois did, but he had a very good sense of it. I remember I'd made, 4 or 5 records in the past for him. I was at this point I was making the first album on Sara Evans, the first one that we did together. It's in the studio at Sound Kitchen out in Franklin, Brentwood area, and he calls me and he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, Joe, I'm making the Sara Evans record right now." I wanted to say, "What, you don't remember that you?" He says, "No. I mean, what are you doing right now?" I said, "Well, I'm literally in the control room." He goes, "Leave the control room. Get someplace where you can talk." I said, "Okay." And so I find a closet in the studio facility, and he says, "Okay, so, you know who Clive Davis is?" I'm like, "Yeah, well, I'm not stupid." And he said, "Listen, okay, so Clive is listening to our conversation right now. I'm in New York. Do you know who Carrie Underwood is?" And I said, "Shoot, yeah." Well, I said, "Shoot, yeah," like, of course, but I saw the finale and the show before the finale, the last 2 episodes, and I happened to watch her, and I remember specifically watching the finale. They had all these legendary record producers sitting in the audience, like David Foster and all these guys. And I just thought, she's such an incredible singer, and they've got all these legendary artists. I mean, I'd love to work on that, but, so would everybody else in this town and every other music town. He said, "Okay, look, I want you to produce the countrysides for us." And I just worked this out with Clive. And so here's the deal. Next week, you and I and Renee Bell are going to get on a private jet. We're going to fly to St. Louis. And if you're going to meet her, and if she likes you, you're in. If she doesn't, it's off.
That's it.
I said,
just on a meeting.
Yeah.
Wow.
And, so I remember flying to St. Louis with them, and the moment I get there, they whisk me off to the hotel, and Joe and Renee go to a label meeting talking about high-end label stuff. And I'm stuck with this L.A. agent that just scared the bejesus out of me. The guy was so intimidating. He was sitting there like across the table like this, and sort of like, have you done anything I would have known, or really trying to intimidate me. He's still one of her agents to this day, and he really did a great job. He turned out to be all bark and no bite. He's a lovely guy. And so I thought, man, how many of these people I'm going to have to talk to before I actually have this meeting where I get my teeth kicked in with Carrie. So for an hour I waited, and then finally they call us up to her hotel room there at W in St. Louis, and I walk in, and there's like 20 people in this hotel room suite, and I'm thinking, wow, this is weird, and so they make an introduction, and so they introduced me to Carrie, and she kind of just looks at me, and I said, "Hi, I'm Mark," She said, "Nice to meet you. So you're from Texas?" And I said, "Yep." She goes, "I'm from Oklahoma." And we sat in a circle and just talked about, what was happening with the career. And and then we left. I get on the plane, fly back to.
And that was it.
And Joe calls me the first thing the next day and says, "Okay, you're in. You got a month to do this album. 1 month." And he says, "I tell you what, at this point, I don't really care what you record. Just don't be late. Turn it in on time."
Wow.
So I made it a point
So
to turn
within
that.
weeks, you were in the studio.
Literally, we were in.
And had Carrie already, had Joe or Carrie or A&R people already found material for that first
Well,
album?
one of the songs that they liked, which they told me in the meeting that they liked, was a song out of my catalog. And, of course, it was the song "Jesus Take the Wheel." It's like, yeah, we should record that one.
Yeah.
And that sounds great with me.
Yeah, yeah.
And so really, I think I brought in one song. Renee brought in 2 or 3 or 4, and Carrie and her manager had some other songs that they liked. And so we, had enough to do it. But the thing that I think that is so great about that opportunity is we had to do it so quickly, so fast that, man, we didn't have time to think about it. We just knocked it out. And then after we recorded the tracks, my engineer and I were flying all over the Northwest, Pacific Northwest, wherever the Idol tour was.
Sure.
For them to pull her off the tour for a day, and we run into a recording studio and record vocals. And that's how we got the vocals done.
Gosh. And had Carrie had a lot of experience in the studio at that moment?
A little bit. She had worked, interestingly enough, with anybody remember Doug Howard?
Sure.
Still around. But Doug had, when she was just a kid, she'd come to town with her mom, and they had made her a record. She, wasn't ready. She was very, very young, and that was the extent of her recording. I think they did 3 songs. So she'd, but Carrie was always one of those people that she was so musical, seriously, that you could have put her into any type of situation, any kind of pressure cooker, and all she's going to do is shine.
Yeah.
She's going to kill it
Yeah.
every single time.